worked in a company that had union workers. Seniority counted when it came to where you stand in the company. There was a guy that took advantage of all union aspects. We would do shift trades for cash, and he tried to sell his shifts using gas coupons. That only added to his stellar reputation. He was not liked by management, and when I worked with him, I would also be called into the office because I was working with him. Being that he was senior to me, I would bid a shift opposite him. One time he bid a cycle 1, which were all the employees that wanted to work with me, and I wanted to work with them. One worker and I asked Joe about changing cycles. He said he would do it if we worked 1 week for free with him. We agreed, and that was the first time that he took advantage of me. Later that summer, I learned that he lost his job because he did an illegal thing. He was out of town and rented a car, and he decided that the car rental agency would fill the car up with fuel for less. So he decided to return the car with an empty tank. Approaching the airport, he ran out of gas. He asked the nearest gas station if he could borrow a Jerrycan. They told him he could purchase one, so he bought the minimum fuel and was so cheap that he stuffed the Jerrycan in his luggage. When he checked in for the flight, the luggage went down the conveyor belt. Baggage handlers smelled the gas fumes and called the police. It is illegal to carry fuel in the belly of an aircraft. We were airline employees, and he should have known that. At the gate, he was escorted by the police to find out why he did it. He was then fired on the spot and had to find his way home. He got his job back after a couple weeks because he said he would go to the media and talk about the dangerous people that work for the airline. Years after the situation, when there was still a list for bids, workers would make comments and draw cartoons of Joe. He was the only person that earned that kind of reputation. Soon after September 11th, our airline went into bankruptcy protection. To prevent workers from getting laid off, there was a package offered for workers to earn 80% of their pay for taking 2 months off. You would have 5 other people do the same thing to save one employee. I was planning on getting married, so 2 months sounded like a great idea for a wedding. I talked to the union office about July and August, and there was a group that had that spot open. I looked at the union bulletin board up to that deadline day. On the final day, I went to the office and submitted my request. After it closed, I asked the union if anyone else put in for those months. They told me that no one put in for July and August except for me. I notified my girlfriend, and we booked our wedding plans for August. A week later, the union office calls me and tells me I get May and June off. I was shocked and asked why. They told me that Joe faxed in his request and it showed backdated for the deadline. It was not the union's issue, it was an issue between Joe and I. I go to Joe and ask him about the choice, and he talks about how hot summer is going to be, and he'll probably spend most of his time in an air-conditioned movie theater. I mentioned that I already booked plans for July and August, so Joe offers to give up the summer if I do one cycle of 4 days for free. Not having a choice, I have to agree with the offer. We booked everything and already sent out the invitations. After I worked for free, Joe comes up to me and makes a comment about how reliable I am and we should do more shift trades. It took me all my internal will not to clock him in the noggin. Later, Joe transferred cities, and I heard that he skipped on owing a coworker $400. One day, a guy from the other city has lunch with my friend, and he talks about Joe skipping town. The guy from the other city gives my friend $400 and tells him that now Joe owes him. While in the new city, Joe does fake shift trades not agreed to by his coworkers. He also created fake doctor's notes to get time off. Finally, he got fired from work because he checked his bag into a flight without actually checking it in. It was considered potential terrorism, the way he bypassed security.